here we are.
Here we are.
VOICE22.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. Openstream being here with us is exciting. You are the VP of Engineering.
Yeah.
Dr. David McGee, but I'll call you David for our conversation.
Thank you.
So maybe give a little context for Openstream. If people don't know much about Openstream, maybe we could just start there. Tell us a bit about the company.
Yeah, Openstream's been around longer than pretty much all the companies here today. Over 20 years in the business.
Wild.
Building multimodal systems and gradually getting more and more into this new conversational AI space, right?
Right.
But we've been doing NLU, ASR processing, the whole gamut since 20 years ago. Yeah.
So it's so wild.
Yeah.
So tell me, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges right now when it comes to conversation AI? And don't hesitate to kind of go deep. You're a VP of Engineering, you're a developer, a programmer, so there's a lot of people that are developers or leading development teams here. Maybe you could speak on behalf of them and also speak to that crowd as well.
Well, there's a lot of promise in the space, right?
Yes.
And we're seeing a lot of outstanding and amazing demonstrations of the technology. We have some, but there were others in the keynote this morning
That's right.
that were just amazing to watch. And with the right training, the right data, those systems can really come together and deliver on that promise. But some of the areas we've been looking at are really challenging and even in the same spaces, right? Things like ensuring that the agent itself has good communication skills and that they're a team player and being helpful and they're accountable for what they do and they can explain what they do, right? And they're worthy of your trust. They develop that with you, right?
Right.
And they are anticipating your need. These are the kind of things that a good assistant can do, right? And so we're focusing on those areas that are very challenging to address.
Yes. So with the challenges, you have to always mitigate risk.
Yeah.
You have to try to overcome hurdles. It's not a one-man job.
Never.
And so obviously there's a big team element there. When it comes to overcoming some of these challenges and looking at that, how you frame that right now?
Well, it's one of the reasons we're here today, right? I mean, finding the right partners for the various pieces of the technology. We're a full stack operation, right? We do it all.
Yes.
We work on the edge. We've got mobile platforms. We have everything you'd expect in a conversational AI. We have all the back office stuff we have to integrate with. So the number of partners that you have to encourage and engage is considerable, and they're all here. A lot of them are here, so I'm really excited to get to know them better and to understand their technology better today as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to make you feel weird and call you a futurist, but maybe you could take us to the future. There's two types of futurists: those that predict the future and those that create the future, right? Folks that say this is what's coming and then people kind of catch up and make that happen, or those that say, I'm looking at data, I'm looking at history, this is where it's going. So regardless of how you want to frame what's coming next, I'd love to hear your insights.
Wow, that's a great question. I've been working on this a really long time, since the mid-90s. And back then, I got asked similar questions as I was finishing up my graduate work. And the estimation I made was a 30-year projection for a comprehensive kind of agent, but cognitive agent, right? That and it's starting to happen. I think the estimate was relatively good, actually, especially giving all these deep learning techniques that are finally allowing us to use the abundance of data that we've already accumulated as humans, right? And so the technology is speeding up, which it needs to do.
Right.
And I expect that, yes, these kinds of social skills, these kinds of engagements that the agents need to have in order to accomplish goals is going to come together the next few years. I mean, we're actively building it and I am excited about it. Yeah.
Yes. So I wrote this question down because I want to make sure I got it right. So the challenge seems relevant, but our audience is likely asking, how might we increase our access to the promise and at the same time reduce our costs in CAI, which seem to be increasing with the promise. So CAI is increasing with the promise, and so how do we navigate that and tackle that?
Well, a lot of the early stage technologies that were used for conversational AI were built around the idea that you could capture the structure of a conversation and watch the graph grow, right? As you plot out what the conversation strategies that the agent might take in order to accommodate something. But what I think everyone is finding is that that strategy is brittle and that it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Because humans can do a glorious assortment of things, right?
Yes,
when they're responding. And those things are hard to code when you're looking at them as specific instances that are happening in a conversation graph.
Right.
But that's the strategy we've laid out for most customers today, and it's just not going to scale.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is more of an approach where the business outlines their process, or we extract the process from the documents they've already, built.
Right.
And those business process models can be used directly to drive the conversation.
Okay.
And what we built around that is this ability to communicate.
Yes.
Through speech acts and other technologies that are going to be new to the market when we introduce them. It reduces the total development effort considerably.
Right.
So that's one of the major selling points for Openstream.
Can we talk for a moment about like building a team?
Yeah.
I'd like to just ask a couple questions that might be relevant to the audience. So if somebody wants to break into this technology as a young developer, and what advice would you give somebody that wants to come in and work for Openstream or a company like that? What type of skill sets they need to get under their belt? What type of classes should they be taking? What type of mentors should they be listening to?
Yeah.
We could start with that.
It's funny because my son is
About that
navigating
age, yeah.
those waters right now. Yeah, and he sent me a question yesterday.
Yeah.
I should just read this out to you.
Yeah,
It's,
please.
It's really right on spot with what you're asking. He said, he sent me this note from DeepMind.
Yep.
Right. They just published a paper 2 days ago on how to build matrix multipliers.
Right.
Using the same kind of technology.
Yes.
And they've been able to find new matrix multiplications for large-sized arrays.
Yeah.
Brand new. I mean, and it's just an amazing feat of mathematics, among
Right.
other things. But he said to me, "Hey, Dad, do you think software development itself could be automated in the next couple of decades? Or is there a better job security in AI? Or will the role of developers change as they learn to interface with this sort of natural language AI thing that's coming about,
Yes.
conversational AI?" And my answer back to him was, no, yes, yes. So no, software development won't be automated in the next couple decades, not completely.
Yeah.
But yes, there will be better job security if you study AI.
Right.
And yes, developers' roles will change, right,
Right.
as these technologies are introduced.
Right.
And it will be liberating in many respects.
Yes.
And I've already found it so, and my developer teams are finding that some of these new, they're out now, right?
Yes.
Code
Right.
is out. So yeah, it's a very exciting time.
So you have a PhD. Let me ask you this question when it comes to building a skill set. When you look at your place today as the VP of Engineering at Openstream, and you look at kind of all the people you've worked with,
Yeah.
would you put a large value emphasis on higher education, getting a master's degree in engineering, getting a PhD of some sort? Or would you put your emphasis at this point more on like, no, I want people that are like interning and doing work and, learning on the job? And it's okay for it to be both, but is there one area that you feel for your specific field of engineering development programming is traditional higher education vital and is like traditional, vocational internship kind of,
Yeah.
entry-level work vital, both? But walk me through that a little bit.
That's a great question too, right? I started my career in industry, so I didn't have a degree. I worked at a national laboratory here in the States for about a decade before I finished my undergraduate, working full-time, and then working on my graduate education. So I'm a big proponent of folks that come in with themselves.
Right.
And energize the company with their own energy,
Yes.
whether or not that's formally educated or not.
Yeah.
And nowadays, developers can pick up a number of skills without ever attending university. And those skills can be put to ready use. And
Right.
I think from that perspective, you will see a change.
Yeah.
And I certainly hope to see it. On the other hand, I think that undergraduate basis is really needed. There is an opportunity for more just simple BSs in engineering and computer science, and to get involved, or any academic degree really,
Yep.
to get involved in the process and to be part of the solution without getting your own PhD.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't get a PhD to do this. Well, maybe to talk to you, but I got a PhD actually to go back to that laboratory and just well, at the time, yeah.
Okay.
There were a lot of PhDs there, and you had to have one to
be part
manage
of the
them.
club. Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of appreciate that now, right?
Yeah.
I manage a lot of PhDs, and
Right.
you need to be able to speak at their level to some degree and understand where the hard problems are and trust them. And they still are abundant. So.
Right. One other question on team development from a corporate perspective. So if your own company, right, if Openstream comes to you or another company in the same industry maybe that you advise your friends with, they go, hey, what's like the most important thing we need to do to attract the world's best talent? And what is maybe something that might be a blind spot that we might do that would turn great talent away? From a corporate perspective, if you want to attract great talent to a team, what should these corporations and the executives that do the hiring, the HR team, whoever it is, be thoughtful of in terms of like, this is a good move and this is probably a bad move?
Focus. Focus in marketing, whether it's to new employees or to the customer segments, is, I think, really critical. And that's where I would stress. Startups can't do everything by their nature.
Right.
They have to accumulate partners. And if you know what your strengths are or need to be, and you can set aside the silliness, all the other things that you need, right, to run a company, but they're not core to your business. They're not core to attracting new employees, and they're not core to attracting new customers, then you set them aside. Let a partner do that for you.
Yeah, it's good. Coming here, there's almost 1,000 folks here.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on community before we wrap up our conversation, and maybe your personal feelings on community, what this community might mean to you and your peers and your friends?
I'm just so glad to be out in the world again.
Right? We're not stuck at home on Zoom.
I mean, all these people there are colleagues here from companies that I was with recently, who I never met.
Wild.
And I met them here at Voice.
Yes.
And I'm meeting new people for the first time that I will carry forward. And that's been 5 years for me.
Yes.
And not from lack of trying.
Right. Yep.
That it's been a rough road, as people are saying, Yes. And I'm glad to be out here on the road. So.
Yes. Well, Dr. David McGee, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching, my name is Ian Utilli. I'm the CEO at Attention Live. I get the joy of helping Pete and Modev with this Voice Summit. I'll be coming back with many more interviews soon. I hope that you enjoy them. Have a very happy day.